Welcome to Trailblazers, the podcast where we sit down with contrarian tech leaders who found conventional success in unconventional ways. I'm your host, Erica Wenger, founding general partner of Park Rangers Capital. Each week, we uncover the stories, strategies, and moments of grit that define the builders shaping the future. They're not just chasing unicorns, but instead creating elephants, companies, firms, or movements built to last. On Trailblazers, we spotlight founders who succeed by doing things differently, not by following the playbook, but by rewriting it. Many of those unconventional builders and the VCs backing them run on Brex because it helps them scale with speed and focus. From smart corporate cards and high-yield banking to AI-powered expense management, Brex gives startups the financial stack they need from day one so they can spend more time building and less time managing back-office operations. More than 30,000 companies, from breakout startups like Anthropic and Cursor to global leaders like DoorDash and Plaid, trust Brex to help them spend smarter and move faster. That's why we, as a venture firm and also the podcast, run on Brex too. Sign up at brex.com/trailblazerspod to get started and claim exclusive rewards. That's brex.com/TRAILBLAZERSPOD. Today on the show, I am so excited to be chatting with Katie Stanton. Katie is the founder and general partner of Moxxie Ventures. Katie is an investor, operator, board member, and proud mom of 3 kids and 2 poorly trained dogs, according to her LinkedIn. Not my own words. I've not met these dogs. I can't attest.
It's true.
She has built her career leading teams at Yahoo, Google, Twitter, and Color, and also served in the Obama White House and the Clinton State Department. As founder and managing partner of Moxxie, Katie backs entrepreneurs tackling hard problems that improve life, work, and the planet. She was also a founding partner of #Angels and has invested in over 50 early-stage companies, including, you may or may not have heard of these giant companies, Airtable, Coinbase, Cameo, Carta, and Modern Fertility. Katie currently serves on the boards of Vivendi and Yahoo, and previously served on the board of Time Inc. Her career has been defined by a commitment to brilliant people, bold ideas, and building a better future. So 3 Bs right there. Let's welcome Katie Stanton.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for being a hype girl.
Wow. Oh, I
Wow.
am. I'm like the ultimate hype woman. I'm
Wow.
like, if there is no other job here, it is for me to cheerlead the guests, because I get to pick whoever I want to have on. It's like a very selfish job, you know? Who do I want to sit and chat with? So it's all people I want to hype up.
I'm very honored.
Amazing. Okay, well, so let's get into it. We'll talk all about your work, but I want to start with an icebreaker question. So here on the Trailblazers podcast, we talk a lot about choosing the hard paths. So this is a bit of a meaty question. What has been the hardest part of your journey so far? The moment that you think back on, whether it was Moxxie, whether it was your career before, that almost broke you, that was the hardest?
Motherhood.
Yeah.
Honestly, the first job I ever loved was at Yahoo, and it was so fun. And it taught me oh my God, you can love your job. I thought everyone was lying. And it was so great. It was in the late 90s. It was one of the earliest hype moments in venture and the internet. And I also wanted to become a mom. And I worked really hard. I went through IVF and we got pregnant and it was amazing. And then I went on maternity leave and I was really stuck. What do I do? And I felt guilty for loving my job so much that I wanted to go back to work. But I felt guilty because I love my daughter so much and I wanted to be home with her. So it was a really hard fork in the road, and went on mat leave and decided to go back to work. And I'm really glad I did. But it's really, it's hard to have both. And I think I underestimated how hard of a challenge that would be.
It's so funny you say that. So I'm thinking of one close friend in particular who reminds me of you in that her career has been incredible and very ambitious, sort of all the hallmarks of success, the check marks, had a child, had a beautiful daughter also, and shocked herself at how much she loved being a mother and was like, do I actually want to keep doing the career thing? Mm-hmm. I've seen this happen a few times, but I'm thinking of this one person in particular. What's your advice for, mother or a father who does have that big career? A lot of our listeners have big careers, extremely ambitious, and they're surprising themselves at how much they're enjoying being a parent, and they don't know, what does that look like going back, part-time versus full-time? Can I do it all? What's your advice for someone in that position?
I think the best advice is don't worry so much. It will work out. And don't overthink it. Don't think that this is a permanent decision. If I stay home, this is forever, and I'm never going to get a job again. You will. Like, it's just going to take work. And so thinking about these decisions that are kind of micro decisions, that you spend some time at home and that feels good. And when it feels less good, decide go back to work. And if that feels less good, go back. And it's okay to zig and zag. It just takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. There's a bit of humility. I remember thinking too, then I had twins. After I did go back to work to Yahoo, it was amazing. And then I had twins. And those two took me out. And I was like, oh God, I had 3 kids under 2. And I realized I needed to stay home. And there was a piece of me that would watch a bunch of my peers who started to get promoted because they stayed in the game. And I remember thinking like, oh shit, like I'm never going to be able to catch up. And it's really hard. And this is a very competitive industry. And I did have to so I ended up going to Google after Yahoo, which was amazing. But I ended up taking a job that might have been sort of a little bit less, on that stack. Instead of being, a senior director, I came in as a regular, whatever, blah-de-blah person. And it took a little bit of humility to realize, like, okay, I'm going to come back into the workforce, maybe not a senior as I was, but that's okay. I'll catch back up. So I think you can zig and zag professionally, but you have to do what's right for you and your family, and don't sweat it. Time moves really, really fast. Take that time with your kids, because in the blink of an eye, now they're all taller than me and I can't handle it.
Now they're adults.
Now they're adults.
I know. It's also, I think we forget as we're moving through life that there's plenty of time to come, like what we're talking about now, this moment in time for you was a couple decades ago, like this was like a bit ago.
Crazy.
It's crazy to think that actually you have so much time to build your career and so many jobs you can try and hats you can put on.
Totally. And now that one of the twins, she's here in New York, and it's so fun because they have grown up going to work with me, and, they've seen, me grow, and I've seen them grow, and it's just really, really fun. So make sure you also take time if you're going back to work, and that's awesome, but make sure you take time with your kids.
I love it. And are your twins both girls, or is it a boy and a girl?
Boy and a girl.
Okay, so I'm a twin.
You are?
I am. I feel like it's such a defining character trait of mine.
Do you
like
have a brother or sister?
Sister.
Okay. Identical,
and
fraternal? Okay.
She's like my favorite person in the world.
Amazing.
I think twins are just the most well-adjusted humans because they spent their whole life, a little biased, but they spent their whole life compromising.
Totally.
I'm so curious, just as a quick aside, what are your kids doing now? I'd love to hear. You've got 3. They're all taller than you.
Yes.
One daughter lives in New York. What are they doing? What are all your kids up to?
So I oversimplify. I have one child serving the rich. So she's at a very big bank here in New York. I'm not going to say which one, but she's doing event marketing.
Serving the rich. I love that line, yeah.
One who is serving the poor. So Ellie is in Boulder, and so she is working in Boulder County, working on wildfire protection. She's going to law school next year, and she is there to protect people who, have been underserved and need the most help. And then my son, Declan, is in San Francisco, and he's serving the planet. And he's working at an early stage startup doing nuclear fusion. So very different children who are all really, really smart and awesome.
So one thing I am hearing is the word serving over and over again. And when I did a lot of research on your background, I hear service all the time. That's something that is a through line in the work that you do, the things that you say about yourself, other people say about you. Talk to me about service. Is that from growing up? That was a big value for you? Is that something, how did that get cultivated? We'll talk a little bit about your political stint, which I think of politics as a very service-oriented world. Your thesis now as a fund manager is very service-oriented. Where does that word come from for you?
I think it comes from my grandparents. So going back to the twins, so my grandparents had 16 children. They had 5 sets of twins. And my mom was a twin, so she was the first batch.
And these were all natural because
all
it's your
natural,
grandparents.
Yeah, just Irish Catholic. And
I'm so jealous.
I know
all those twins. Yeah,
it seems fun. Once you're as a twin mom, I'm kind of like, I don't know how she kept going.
Yeah,
but she had 4 sets of twins in a row, or they had 4 sets of twins in a row. Then hit a single, then another double, and then 3 more singles. And I look at them as, they always had this big loving family. It was chaotic and crazy, and but they were my family. And my grandparents in particular always had room for more people. They always had more family, more neighbors, whoever was left out, they were always there. And I would watch my grandfather, who had a very simple business as a manufacturer's rep. And I worked for him on summers, and I would count these grommets, and I would go to these, in Erie, Pennsylvania, and the Rust Belt going, and he would like bring people a turkey for Thanksgiving dinner, and people who were just kind of left out. And I think I just saw that. They were always just serving others. And these are people with very minimal means. And I just loved that. And I think a lot of, what I have learned and what I hold to be really important and true is just that give back mentality and just always serving your neighbors. And now seeing this, fast forward to today, it just feels great. Like if you feel like you can make a material impact in someone's life, if it's bringing a turkey or if it's helping a founder or if it's, helping your neighbor doing something, there's nothing that feels better than that.
Mm-hmm. There's actually a lot of science behind that too. Like whenever you're sad, the number one piece of advice is to give.
100%.
Like you're really down in the dumps, you're feeling depressed, you can't get off your couch, like make someone some soup and go drop it off at their door or call a friend who you know is struggling. Like giving helps us feel better.
100%.
I think that's a really interesting point you bring up. And we'll get kind of your background in a second, but with Moxxie specifically, like what made you come up with this thesis of service? Because, we talked about it's like serving life, serving work, and serving the planet, I believe are your three. Where did that ethos come from? Was it like a very capitalistic, like we think there's the most money to be made here and like we're just going to go do that? Is it like I want to feel good and also make money? Talk to me a little bit. Was it just looking at your own track record and being like, this is the stuff that I enjoyed working on? But talk to me a little bit about like the ethos of bringing the service piece into your thesis.
I wish I could say I had some brilliant strategy. I did not. I think it's just a function of who I am. And I also think too, and not to be sad, but I've seen, like I've had a lot of loss in my life too. And I think once you see that early and often, you realize like what else matters. What do you want to be known for? What do you want to spend your precious days doing? You can't take money with you. It's important, of course, and then to generate returns that other people can do good things with. But what is that impact that you're making? There's nothing else that really matters. And so, I think. I think venture is really tricky because we don't talk about purpose too much because then all of a sudden you get branded like your social impact. This is not going to create returns. This is nonprofit. But I do think that profit and purpose can coexist. And I think we should aspire for that, right? If you're backing a company, maybe I don't mean to dovetail here, but I think it's a good example. August Health is one of our companies. And when I met these founders, they were like, nursing homes are antiquated. 75% of the work is being done on paper. We have an increasing number of people who are aging, which is great, but they're not aging well. How do we make their life experience better? It's like, great, I want to back that. Most of us know somebody in our family who has gone to nursing homes. And, I've seen this, I've gone through this. And I remember meeting these founders during COVID. And it was a very important and very sad time. And I was like, 100% I want to back these guys. Like, what a great mission. And coincidentally, we'll make a lot of money, too, because people spend a lot of money at these nursing homes, too. So I think that, is a good example of profit and purpose and service that can generate a great outcome for everybody.
Yeah. I completely agree with you, but I also agree that there is certain language that's very triggering for people in our industry. How have you guys thought about that? That's something I think about all the time. I mean, I went so far as to create my own language because I was like, you know what? The words we use are so triggering for people. Mm-hmm. They all have their own judgments. I want to come up with something that people approach with curiosity more than anything else. How do you guys navigate that? Is it something that you've thought about doing? I have a friend, I've mentioned this before, but she invests in demographic change. Everyone kind of has like their thing they coined, polycultural something. How do you guys think about the language piece of the work?
It's such a good question. I think it's very, very important. So one of the things now, I think you have to be pragmatic about whatever market you're working in. So for example, I love climate tech. I think it's really important. I think it's a huge TAM, right? Like our climate is warming. We have an increasing number of catastrophes, and we can debate all the reasons why, but we can acknowledge that they're happening and we have to do something about it. But climate can be kind of a tricky word, right? And
very much. Green tech.
And people have a lot of PTSD too, right? that first, 1.0 version of clean tech just did not work out. So you have a lot of investors and LPs who are like, I don't want to invest in that. So now we live in this environment that, it's very much about the reindustrialization of America and, American nationalism and dynamism and whatever flavor it may be. I think you can kind of tuck a lot of that climate stuff in there.
Yeah. What better way to preserve America than to keep it going?
We need to preserve America, make sure that, we're protected from all kinds of disasters, human cause and climate cause, whatever it may be. So I think that's a good example of how you can rebrand, something to also make sure that it's not immediately dismissed for a very bad reason.
Yeah.
That we all have our biases.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I like this idea of following the moment and not being afraid to say no, our thesis is the same. We just call it something different depending on what's hot in the zeitgeist.
Right. You have to pick your battles.
Yes, you have to pick your battles. Speaking of picking your battles, so one of the things I will say I've been impressed with by you is we had an email exchange a bit ago, and you were one of the few people who felt strongly about where you raise money. And that's something that I think a lot about. I think founders should think a lot about. I think operators should think about where they work and where that money comes from. I think VC should think a lot about if all goes well, and let's just assume you and I both in our respective funds go make a bunch of money, who are we making rich?
Yeah. Right?
Because those people are then going to put more money to work in whatever their areas of interest are. I've been very impressed. You're one of the few people who has had, I won't go into specifics, but has clarity of thought around who you will and will not raise money from. And I have found that is not common across the board. Could you talk to me a little bit about your value set around that, how you've approached fundraising? Because again, if we do what we say we're going to do, we're going to make these people a lot of money, these institutions a lot of money. Talk to me a little bit about that and how you think about who you raise LP money from.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important, and I'm surprised that more people don't think about it or don't report on it.
Yeah, I've been surprised too, for what it's worth. But what you sent to me is not something that I've seen very, frequently across the board.
Got it. I mean, part of it, maybe just tying back, it comes to a matter of being a parent, the opportunity cost of your time, and how you talk to your kids and your family about what you do. Does it make you proud? If you're not proud, maybe something's off. And maybe you need to think harder about what you're doing. So part of that is just for me personally, being proud of what I tell my kids and leading by example. And then part of that is just, the practical matter of would you rather return capital to these nonprofits that are helping anybody go to college, for anybody to receive health care, for people to live in a better planet? That feels great. And I also think it is, it's also very marketable back to founders, right? And hopefully you find founders who have a similar ethos and they're excited and they're motivated. Guess who you're going to make money for? These children's hospitals, for these endowments, for these universities. That can be very, very inspiring. So I think it's both, it's hopefully inspiring, but it's also very practical as well. And there is so much capital out there, right? Capital is a commodity, and if you have the privilege to be choosy, you should be. And I do think it really matters. And the other thing I'll say too, in our careers, we will hire and fire a lot of people. The people you can't fire are the people that you take capital from, right?
We have to double down on that, because that's something that I think more people need to hear. Say that one more time.
Yeah. So you're going to hire and fire a lot of people in your lifetime professionally as operators and as VCs and as founders. You can't fire your cap table. You can't fire the people who give you money. So are these the people that you want to look in the eye and in their eyes, as if they had one eye?
Yeah, they all have singular eyes in the middle.
Yeah. We don't have any cyclops.
Fortunately, they actually don't have that.
Yeah. So that's true. But are these the people that you want to be in business with for a long time? And it's actually something I talk to founders about a lot, that as much as we do references on them, I want them to always do references on us, and they should talk to the founders that we work with, but specifically they should talk to the founders where things have not worked out really well and see what that's like. How do people treat you when things are not going well? I think that's really, really important. So anyway, long-winded way of saying it's really important to be picky about who you're in business with, because this is a very long-term business.
Absolutely. And I love this ethos of transparency of telling the founders, these are who we raise from ourselves as a fund. So that's who you're going to go make money for. And I think that's actually not very common in venture. A lot of it is, you have this big giant fund and then it's sort of discreet who they've raised from. And so it sort of stops with them when they speak with founders of like, this is who you're going to make money for. It's just the fund. They don't talk about the LPs.
Right.
And I like that you guys have more of a through line, more of like a cycle kind of with all of it.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, so you talked a little bit about how if you have the luxury, pick your LPs. You had the luxury because you've had quite the career. Yahoo and Google, I want to, at the start, did you know that the search wars were going to be such a thing? I mean, I think a lot of people that were like early at some of the most exciting startups a decade or two later, some knew, some didn't know. What was your thought process then? Was it just these were cool jobs that smart people worked at? Or were you thinking more philosophically like, I actually think search is going to be a giant business one day and I want to align myself with companies that are in that space?
I was definitely not that smart.
Well, I mean, you're a VC now, so
yeah,
our job's quite philosophical. Yeah.
But no, I think I was optimizing I did recognize that search was going to be big. And I was here in New York actually working at JP Chase. I was working on a trading floor. And, JP Chase is a wonderful bank, an amazing place, but I did not love my job. And
as many people in that role don't always love it. Yes. Yeah. You're not alone. Yeah.
And it was a tricky job. I was working on a trading floor and it was very intense. And I'd been there for 3 years and I learned a lot, but I was not enjoying it. And I remember, search becoming really big and thinking, wow, what if finding information on any kind of public stock was easier to find and learn from on Yahoo versus these Bloomberg terminals, because you were using all these weird shortcut terminals and it cost tens of thousands of dollars per it was just crazy at the time. And so I knew that was really interesting. This light bulb went off of that. Oh my God, like that, how cool would it be to work at a company called Yahoo that was doing something like this? And it wasn't like I researched all these other search companies. It was just Yahoo. And Yahoo at the time was the leader. And when I moved out or went out to California, I found a friend of a friend of a friend who worked there, asked them like, hey, are you hiring anyone like me? And they were kind of like, yeah, sure. I got really lucky. I mean, I made my luck because I went out there and I really pushed hard, but I did get lucky. But every person I met on that interview day just blew me away. It was all about the people. And I think that has just been a guiding light, and I would recommend for everybody. I mean, optimize for the people and, the 5 people you're going to spend the most time with, because those are the people that are either going to lift you up or bring you down. And I thought those people were just so smart, so intellectually curious, so nice, so collaborative, so authentic, that it just raised the bar for me for all the people that I want to work with and connected to this day, right? Like every time I meet a founder, like, do they meet that same bar? Are they intellectually curious? Are they authentic? Are they driven? Are they honest? Are they good people putting more good stuff into the world? It's really, really important.
Quo, formerly OpenPhone, is built to help small business owners and growing teams stay on top of every customer conversation. Instead of juggling calls, texts, and voicemails on a personal phone, Quo gives you a dedicated business line and an all-in-one inbox that works on any device. Teams can collaborate in real time, picking up conversations seamlessly and responding faster than ever. And with Quo's AI agent, Sona, handling after-hour calls, answering questions, and even booking appointments, you'll never miss a lead. Rated 4.7 stars on G2 and trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, Quo, formerly OpenPhone, is the smarter way to grow without missing a customer. Quo is offering my listeners 20% off of your first 3 months at quo.com/trailblazers. That's quo.com/trailblazers. And if you have existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. I've actually used Gusto at 3 different companies, and every time it's been such a relief. It's simple, it's reliable, my paycheck was always on time, no drama. And unlike the big clunky payroll systems out there, Gusto is affordable and designed for teams like ours. Gusto is online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses. It's all-in-one, remote-friendly, and incredibly easy to use, so you can pay, hire, onboard, and support your team from anywhere. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/trailblazers and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/trailblazers. One more time, gusto.com/trailblazers. I think a lot of people focus more on the category, or they focus more on the stage, but they don't as much focus on the people. And I agree with you. I think in our job we have to, because we back people, we back founders, so we see that. But I think it's actually quite uncommon advice to the rest of the world. So you did your Yahoo stint. I know then you obviously had your wonderful children, Google, and then you did a political stint.
Yes.
I'm calling it a political stint. Like, how do you define these chapters in your life? Like the Yahoo, Google, then working for the Obama White House and the Clinton State Department, and then now, doing all the marketing and media stuff we'll get into. How do you define those chapters? Like, what is the language you use when you talk about these different times of your career?
I think it's more about being opportunistic. I didn't have a grand plan that I wanted to do a political stint at that point in my career. I had actually thought I would do that early in my career. I went to school for political science and international affairs. I worked on the Hill for a year on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And after doing that for a couple of years, I realized I did not want to do that full time. Mm-hmm. And but when I was in Silicon Valley working at Google, I had volunteered on the Obama campaign, and at Google we had this election team that was a bunch of 20%ers. So people who just in their 20% time would work on these various projects, and we were offering a lot of the Google services to both parties, and offering Google Sheets and Google Slides. I mean, it sounds very rudimentary today, but wow,
an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, guess what? You don't have to use Excel anymore. And they're like, wow, that's amazing. Yeah. And but YouTube and all these different products. And at that time, it was very exciting, that intersection, like how can you use the tools of the 21st century to address the challenges of the 21st century? And after volunteering on the campaign and getting to know a lot of people, they gave me this incredible offer to join the administration. And I actually had been interviewing at Twitter, and it was quite early. So it was like one of the most economically disastrous decisions in my life. But also, like, it was just such an important moment. Like, oh my gosh, I could have this front row seat to history, and the first internet president. And I was a big fan of President Obama, and so we pulled the ripcord and moved to DC and worked there for a couple of years, which was super exciting.
Yeah, and it sounds like you had some exposure to this world already while you were at Google in this 20% time, which is amazing. Talk to me a little bit about the Twitter situation, because I know you ended up going to Twitter later and having a really big career there. How did you find out about Twitter at the gate? What was the role to start? Talk to me a little bit about that.
When I was at Google, I met Ev Williams, and I thought he was just one of the most consequential founders in my lifetime. And I remember telling Ev, whatever you start next, can I join? And he was like, okay, weirdo. And but became friends. And so when he was building Twitter and Odeo, I got to know him. And so he brought me over to interview at the time. And I was so sad to actually turn this opportunity down, and it was very early. It's like, well, let's just stay in touch. And so go to DC. It was very lovely, but I really missed Silicon Valley. I missed building. Yeah. I could see Twitter's growth, and I also knew Dick Costolo, who had been at Twitter. And so after about a year and a half being in DC, I emailed both Ev and Dick and said, by any chance, do you have another role? They're like, yes, come and head up our international stuff and build Twitter around the world. I was like, oh my God, dream job. So we all moved back, and I got to work at Twitter for 6 years, which was amazing. And
that absolutely is the best of all worlds, right? You get your Silicon Valley, you get your international piece. What was Twitter like? I mean, I feel like that was such a pivotal time. You're working on a very exciting startup with brilliant people. Like we said, people matters. People. I think you were there maybe almost 6 years.
Yes, exactly.
And really sort of worked your way up. What was that time like? Did you enjoy it? What were some highlights? Tell us more.
Pure chaos.
Yeah, classic startup.
Classic startup, but Twitter was particularly chaotic, but I loved it. I mean, it was so interesting. It was a very different culture from Yahoo and Google. You had lots of smart people, but it's very edgy and very funny. And I think part of that culture coming from Dick, who is a former stand-up comedian, that there was this very funny, lively, also very serious part of the business, because it was a zeitgeist. Every conversation, every breaking news moment was happening on Twitter. And what a privilege for me to be able to travel around the world and see how our customers were using the product and helping to, build the foundation with so many other great people on the team, that it was just so interesting, so momentous, from people using this in the Sudan and to Iran, in Japan. I mean, there are so many, an endless amount of use cases, and some of my best friends for the rest of my life. I mean, just amazing people. Again, amazing people. I keep saying that.
I know, but
find another descriptor.
No. I mean, that's so much of doing these podcasts is people are like listening to what's the stuff that keeps getting repeated, and then that's what sticks. So keep repeating yourself. I think it's amazing. And then ultimately, what made you leave Twitter? And obviously, you went to a very exciting company next. Tell everyone about that decision. And I'm sure that was very difficult, considering this was kind of like a dream opportunity and blended all your interests, and you were able to be in the heart of Silicon Valley, but still having the service element like we've talked about.
Yeah, I think part of it was very practical on the professional side. So I felt like, okay, I think I've helped and contributed as much as I possibly can. This company has gotten really big. It's getting slower. It's very chaotic. We kept changing CEOs. And it just felt like a little bit stuck. I felt stuck professionally, like I wasn't growing.
What stage was it at this point as a company?
Oh, it was post-IPO by public for a couple of years. And, our growth was stalling. It was harder to make better decisions. I felt like, hey, let's do this. And then we wouldn't. And it was really hard to get the right things done. And I stopped loving it. And that was hard. And on the personal side, just had gone through, like, my father was, sick, and my brother was sick, and everybody was sick, and my kids needed me more. And I felt like that trade-off wasn't justified. And it was really tricky. Actually, one of the things that I had a hard time getting through, that maybe others did too, because I don't think a lot of people talk about it, is that I felt like if I leave without another job, will people think I got fired? And I felt like I didn't have the courage to take that time off, or did I? And, should I interview and talk to other companies and maybe have another job post-Twitter? But I felt guilty that it'd be cheating on Twitter. And I didn't want to do that either, which sounds really weird. But I felt loyal.
I think a lot of people feel this, though. Like, a lot of people, especially when it was a startup, and so it's actually part of their identity. A lot of their good friends work there.
Yes.
It's more than a job. I mean, it sounds cheesy, but you do feel like you're cheating. You do feel, I've been there and I get it. It's hard.
It's really hard. Like when I finally decided, you know what, like, I just need time and headspace to think about what's next. And I also think too, later on in your career, you have to be a lot more surgical about what you do next. It's not like you want to join any other company.
Totally.
Like, you want to join the right company in the right role at the right time with the right people. And you just, like, sometimes if you're in this chaotic space, personally and professionally, you can't make a good decision. And I realized I can't make a good decision. And so I went in and I cried in front of, like, everybody. I mean, I was very emotional about leaving. I cried in front of my entire team. I cried to the exec team and told Jack that I was going to leave, and my team that I was going to leave. And I was very emotional about it. And I'm so glad I did it that way, because it was both honest, but it also gave me sort of the time and the perspective to really think about what was next. And I took 3 months off or so, which was the right time for me. I get a little antsy after that. Like, I need to work. I like working. Yeah. But I don't think enough people do that. And I think, like, know that it's okay. In fact, it's not just okay. It's probably better for you to do.
And you also probably had that time to focus on your personal life a little bit.
Totally.
Feel a little bit more steady so that you could think clearly. I think that's so much of the job search process, is like when everything's coming at you and you have a day job you're still doing, you can't really think.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you're able to do that. I want to talk a little bit about, because you brought it up, and I do think it's an important topic, like emotion at work.
Yeah.
And you specifically just said you're glad you did it that way. You were probably referring to, leaving Twitter and then figuring out what was next. But in terms of, like, the emotional side of it, what's your take on it now as someone who's, like, been at many different great companies, has worked with a lot of the greatest leaders? Does emotion have place in the workplace? And also there's, like, the female angle, obviously, of women are more emotional, and when they cry, it's, they're so sensitive. So do you have, like, a take on that? Do you have some advice for others who maybe feel emotional sometimes at work and want to know how to handle it?
I think you are who you are, and if you feel it, it's okay to show it. I mean, you probably don't want to cry every day at work. That might be bad.
That's probably not okay. There's a line.
Don't do that. There's probably a line. But if it's genuine and authentic, I think it's okay. So I'll go back to the story about August Health, and what I didn't share then, but I'll share now, is that when I met them at that time, it's during COVID, and my dad was in a nursing home and in Denver, and the entire nursing home got COVID, and I think it was at the time a third of them died, including my dad. Oh. And I said goodbye to him over Zoom, and it was awful, and just like seeing him, like, ugh, I don't even want to think about it. But at that time, it was so terrible. And then I met Justin and Erez, who were building this modern system and platform for nursing homes. And as we were talking, I just broke down and cried. And they were wonderful about it. And I was trying to hold myself back, but I didn't, because I was sad, and it was terrible. And that was our sort of like, getting started moment. But I joined the round, and they were such wonderful humans and such great founders. And they weren't like, oh, we don't want to take that money from her because she's so emotional or anything. They knew that I was genuinely and authentically motivated to join their journey and do whatever I can in my power to help them succeed. So, it's not like it worked or it didn't work. It just was. And if you feel emotion at work, let it rip, and let that be a power for good.
I love that. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your father passing. It's very difficult. I can't even imagine. But I think it does turn into something beautiful, this concept of like finding aligned people and like just being you. And that's the beauty of actually running a fund, is I feel like so much of Moxxie seems like a representation of you. And when you're at a company, sometimes there's more bureaucracy and there's more values you have to follow and process you have to follow. And so now running this fund, you're able to just be you, and like you can back founders who like you and they like, you like them and all of that. So I think that's a very beautiful story, and I appreciate you sharing.
Thanks.
Okay, so post Twitter, Color.
Yes.
Tell me the 3 months off, and then you go work at Color. Tell me like what excited you about the opportunity? How was that experience? Give me more info.
So I was taking that time off, trying to think about what I would do, and I started talking to similar companies, and I realized, I had a 3-part rubric of what I would do next. I always started with the people. Who are the people? Do they lift us up? Like, do they help us grow? I thought about, the second part is product. Do I love the product? Do I think about the product? Do I use the product? The third part had always been pride. How proud am I to work here, to build this, to be away from my kids? Is it worth it? But then the fourth part of that rubric came to mind during that 3-month process, which was impact. Can I make an impact? It was one of the reasons why I left Twitter, that I couldn't make an impact anymore. And so those 4 things really helped me crystallize what I want to do next. And then, fortunately, 2 friends of mine, former colleagues, Othman Laraki and Alad Gill, came up to me. They're like, hey, I'd been an investor in Color, a personal angel. They're like, you should join as our CMO. And I said, Alad and Othman, you are the 2 smartest people I know, and this is the stupidest idea I've ever heard. Because 1, I don't know too much about genomics, and 2, I've actually never been in marketing. I know a lot of great marketers, but I've actually never been in a marketing role. They're like, you will figure it out. And I said, well, why don't you try before you buy, and I'll do the same thing. Like, let me go in for, I'll consult for a little bit and figure it out. And I just loved it. And I love the team. Alad and Othman, I think, are 2 of the most brilliant thinkers and builders, investors and operators ever. And I just wanted to work with them. I thought the product was so interesting. How can you use science to understand, your body, and to do more work in prevention versus like waiting till you get sick? And is it something I'm proud of? Like, for sure. Like, how interesting. Like, telling my kids and learning about genomics and healthcare at the same time. And can I make an impact? It was very early. And yes, I can make an impact, hopefully a positive impact. Like, I need to figure out how to do this really fast. But that was my journey into Color. So I was there for a few years, and it was just a really, really awesome experience.
I love that. And I love that it started with these great people, You've, through your career, and I mean, Ev being like a really obvious one, Elad Gil being like a really obvious one, you've noticed really smart people and very successful people and like nurtured those relationships so that they wanted to bring you to Twitter even after you were in DC, and they wanted to have you be CMO in a role that you'd not even been in marketing before. They wanted to put you there because they believed in you. Do you have any advice for relationship building, and more than that, actually like network warming? Because I think like a lot of people that are we'll say at like 27 to 38, 40 are in that, like, they spot the smart people and the like extra ambitious, extra kind rock stars. But like, how do you keep them close to you? How do you keep them seeing the cool things you're doing? How do you keep them warm? Do you have any advice for network warming? Because you've clearly done that. Like, a lot of these opportunities have come from people who just really believed in you and you believed in them. And I think a lot of people don't know always how to keep that extra warm.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't think there's any sort of silver bullet to doing this. I think one very practical piece of advice I would share is go to the places and work with the people as early in your career as you can, because those relationships will start to compound. And it's like financial compounding, right? Like people compounding. How do you do that? And I was very fortunate at Yahoo, but mostly Google, that original cohort of people that I was a product manager with were Alad, Othman, Brett Taylor, Sundar Pichai, Susan Wojcicki, like an insane group of people, Hunter Walk. Like, these people are just so smart and so thoughtful and such builders that those relationships compound, that I feel so lucky to know them to this day. I mean, we don't talk every day or anything, but I know, like, I could call or they could call me and I would do whatever it takes to help them if they don't need help from me, but like,
they're doing okay.
They're doing fine.
Yeah.
But there are just so many other people whose names maybe most people don't know who are still building their careers and are incredible people. And so, like, finding those places and those people that you can compound those networks with, I think, are really, really important. And then second, just you have to nurture them. Like, you can't take your network for granted, and you should always be nurturing. You should always be, rebuilding and finding new people. So I, like, whenever I'm in New York, I stack my time as much as possible to meet all these amazing people. Like, what do we have in common? What can I do for you? Like, how can we do something together? Like, how cool would this be? Yesterday I met he's a junior in college, who's an amazing young founder who is on a full scholarship here thanks to Eric Schmidt, who I knew from Google, and just thinking, like, how interesting, like, this guy's at the beginning of his journey, and look at how his network is already compounding. And how do you, start to nurture those relationships and the next generation of, founders like him? So I think it just takes a lot of effort to do it, but I thrive off of it. Like, I love meeting interesting people and figuring out fun things together.
I love that. And I love this concept too of, like, not just sticking with the crew that you had back then, like the Eric Schmidts and the Brett Taylors and the Hunter Walks. It's like, who's also coming up?
Yeah.
Because that's where a lot of the alpha is too, right? Because some people get comfortable with the network they already have. But yeah, it's a pretty crazy list. And I also think the takeaway too is trying to find, like, the next Google. That's easier said than done, but there are these, like, hotbeds for, like, really great, like, the ex-Palantir folks, and a lot of the OpenAI folks now are doing cool stuff, and everyone knows about, like, the PayPal mafia,
Right.
like, finding these places where there's just a hotbed of talent. Amazing. Well, I could keep talking to you forever.
Can we talk about Logan?
Oh, let's talk about, okay, yeah, so that's a fun one. And then we'll get into our trade-off. So You talk about Logan, you start.
Well, because she's on this pathway, right, of like, who are these up and comers that, like, we should get to know. And I was in New York at New York Tech Week, and a friend of mine was like, you need to meet this woman. I just met her. She's awesome. And I meet Logan, who just blew me away. And she's one of those high octane, smart, resourceful, bright, and passionate founders. I was like, I need to get to know you better immediately. And so Logan she grew up in Kansas. Father is a cop, mother is a teacher, and she has this history of excellence. So she gets a full ride into a bunch of colleges, chooses Vanderbilt, becomes valedictorian of Vanderbilt, then becomes a Marshall Scholar, then gets into every law school, and then goes to Harvard and full ride there too, and goes to Cooley, becomes a lawyer, and then she's like, I'm going to build an AI native law firm. I see the intersection and the growth and power of AI, and I have this unique superpower as a lawyer, and I love solving and building. And I was like, great, I'm in. And she was just such, and she broke our rules. We're like, well, we have to have a technical founder at the get-go. Well, we'd like to have XYZ. I was like, we just have to bet on her, and we did. And then we were so glad that you met her separately.
Oh yeah.
And then Logan was like, hey, do you know Erica? I was like, I do, but we haven't met. Like, I know of her, and I think she's great. But finding those people and those co-investors to build this journey, like, who knows what's going to happen, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah, and I think when you surround yourself with good people, you find more good people. So
Exactly.
Logan is she's an incredible founder. Katie is invested. We are also invested. Everyone will find out more very soon. She's absolutely incredible. And we've always known she's amazing, but I didn't know she was ever going to start something. I kind of thought she should, but I didn't know if she would.
So you've known her for a while.
For a while, longer than you have.
Okay.
I've known her for probably a year and a half, maybe.
Okay, great.
And I also agree with everything you just said. And you sometimes meet these people that they break your own rules and they are so stellar and so A+ that you're like, I just want to be around them and support them because I know the other investors she brings into the round are amazing. I know the people she hires is going to be amazing. And I just want to be there to support. So I completely agree. And I hope we do more deals together.
Yeah, that'd be so fun.
That'd be so fun. Okay, so let's do our little lightning round game.
Okay.
We call it Trailblazer Trade-Offs.
Okay.
You can give me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
It's like a lightning round. There's 10. Okay. Book in hand or podcast in ears?
Podcast in ear.
Okay. Do you have a favorite podcast?
I like No Priors with Alad and Sarah. I think that's very good.
Yeah. For all the VCs out there, even founders, it's a classic.
Yeah. Yours, obviously.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah.
Trailblazers.
Trailblazers. Yeah. Little shout out.
And I love Kara Swisher.
Oh, classic.
Yeah.
Classic. You got to have your political one in there too.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
You need to have your mix.
I need a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Morning person.
Okay. Very much a morning person. You answered that quickly.
Very much. Also, I have 2 dogs.
Oh.
And so they keep me on track.
Yeah, the poorly trained dogs that we mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. Cooking dinner or ordering in?
Half and half.
You got to give an answer.
Okay. I'm now cook. Well, I don't cook, but my husband cooks.
Oh, great. So you as a family
As a
cook.
family, he cooks, yeah.
Yeah. I have the same setup with my fiance. He cooks. VC or bootstrapping?
It depends for me or what I would advise.
It can be what you would advise.
I think I would advise VC.
Yeah. You're like, this is my
Always
job.
VC.
Yeah.
Always take venture money. No,
Yeah.
not always, but I think as long as it's helpful capital, I would take VC.
Okay. And is there any other rules that you would give to founders? Like if it's not just helpful capital, but like something about your business that means you should VC versus bootstrap?
Yeah, I think if it can be really strategic in terms of distribution or there's some kind of operational superpower that can turbocharge the work that you're doing and can be additive to the journey, I would take it.
Yeah. But not for everyone.
Not
I think
for
that's one
everyone.
thing I spend a lot of my time doing is I
Yeah.
meet founders and I'm like, bootstrap
Totally.
this. Great business, not for VC.
Totally.
Networking dinner or big conference?
I like networking dinners, but sometimes I probably would net prefer a big conference because it's a high ROI of seeing a lot of people at once.
You get the quick 5-minute catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any favorite conferences you've been to lately or ones you like to go to annually?
I like Masters of Scale.
Oh, yeah.
Just because it's kind of a good balance that it's a smaller group of people
Yeah.
and so it doesn't feel so overwhelming and you actually sit down and listen and learn too. So I feel like it's a very good balance of people and content.
I feel like you can learn a lot about someone based on the conferences they like. I think it's
interesting. What
that's
does this
like a
say about
take.
me? Is this good?
No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. I think in general, it's a question I love to ask because everyone's got their own flavor of conference they like.
Yeah, interesting.
Hire slow or fire fast?
Hire slow.
Okay. 10 small wins or 1 big moonshot?
Moonshot.
Yeah, we're in the moonshot business, right?
Yeah.
Being early or being right?
Being right.
Okay, and why that?
Because you can be early at everything and still suck.
We're in the business of not sucking.
Yeah.
Never post on socials again or never fundraise another dollar again?
Never post on social again.
Yeah.
I think social is really sad. I think we need to do less there and more offline.
Okay. AI hype or AI fatigue?
Can you clarify?
Yeah. Do you think at this very current moment when we're talking that AI is overhyped and there's still a lot more, or AI, as if it's overhyped, then you're fatigued by it, or if it's underhyped and there's still a lot more to happen?
Underhyped.
Underhyped.
Yeah.
There's a lot more opportunity.
I think there's so much more.
Okay. So you're into the AI hype camp.
I am.
Okay.
I don't want to pay the AI hype prices. I wish they were lower. So if we could turn that down a little bit, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we're just at the beginning. There's still so much opportunity and so much more to be built.
Yeah, very bullish on it. Is there anything else that you're really bullish on right now that stands out beyond AI that you are just spending time on or you're just thinking a lot about?
I'm really excited about, it is AI, but the AI applications in healthcare.
Yeah.
The ability to go deep in biology and chemistry to look at, a better way to do clinical trials, a better way to detect disease and advance treatment. So I'm so excited and bullish and enthusiastic about that category.
You know, it's funny. You said color genomics was this kind of like random bet way back when, but look, if you hadn't done that role, maybe this wouldn't be your answer.
I know. Now I get to say, well, I was the CMO at Color Genomics.
Yeah, so I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I know the opportunity. Katie, can you tell everyone where they can find you, where they can support Moxxie, and also your portfolio?
Yes. So you can find us at moxxie.vc, the double X for the female chromosome, which I learned at Color. So thank you a lot, Anathman.
Wow.
So, yes,
MOXXIE.
Yes, exactly. Okay. I still am on Twitter or X at KDS, on LinkedIn as well, and Moxxie Ventures is. And some of the companies I'm excited about, we mentioned Logan, Soxon AI, which we'll hear more about. It's still very early. Throne Science is another company I'm excited about.
Love Throne.
Whoop for your poop. How
cool is that? Tell everyone what that is, because it's so marketable.
It's so weird and so awesome. I love this founder, Scott Hickel. He is exactly the right founder for this product. So it is a device that you put on your toilet that has some cameras that look down, so don't worry. And it will tell you how you're doing. It will look at your gut health. It's a daily habit. Some people more than once, but something that most of us do every day. Yeah. And but just I'm so excited about personalized healthcare. I have my Aura, I do Function Health, and I think all these things to help us be the better version of ourselves. And it will tell you, there's a nice app that will go in and tell you your gut health, there's something off today. Here are the things that you can do about it, and how empowering is that, right? And super fun. So excited about Throne. We have another company, Pharos Health, which is AI for patient safety data. It's more of a B2B play, so selling into hospitals to make sure that if you go in a hospital for a broken arm, you don't leave with sepsis. And it's
That's quite important.
It's pretty important. No one wants sepsis. Yeah. And I'm kind of getting gross on this podcast. Sorry.
It's okay.
But again, such a big opportunity, such a great use case of AI. Right now, a lot of this work is being done manually. And of course, August Health. I love August Health.
I love it. I love the healthcare focus right now. That's pretty epic.
I didn't mean to do that, but here we are.
Can
I mention one more?
Absolutely.
So I also love Overstory, which is AI for vegetation management. It's a climate reindustrialization of the world.
Yeah, American dynamism. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a really remarkable story. It started by a husband-wife team. And the husband at age 35 passed away from cancer. And it was just awful. I mean, there are so many things that can go wrong in venture. You can never be prepared for some of these curveballs, and this is the ultimate terrible thing to happen. And I was really worried about this company, given such an existential shock to their system. And I've never seen a team just rally and step up and meet this moment to help this company not just thrive, but survive. They have just closed their Series B. They are off to the races. They are growing so fast, unfortunately, because of the climate disasters and tragedies we have in this world. Yeah. But they're doing something about it, so we can hopefully prevent the next utility-caused fire.
Absolutely. And stories like that too. It's just you even say that, I'm like, oh my God, I want to help introduce them to investors.
Exactly.
And when someone's in that situation, you just want to help. So exactly. I'm glad they're doing so well, but also it pulls at the heartstrings for sure. Let's do more healthcare stuff. Yes. I was early in Superpower. So
amazing.
On the Function Health versus, I know.
Okay, I'll do Superpower next.
Thank God for TVPI. But yes, I think honestly that stuff is so exciting. And mentioning even the Throne stuff with gut health, for so long gut health has been this big question mark. So
yes.
I'm very excited to see what that becomes too.
Awesome.
Thanks for being here, Katie.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
On Trailblazers, we're always talking about multiplying your impact, and that's exactly what Athena helps you do. Athena pairs you with a world-class executive assistant who becomes a true force multiplier for your business and your life. Working with my Athena assistant has been transformative. Gab was instrumental in raising Park Rangers Capital's fund in ways that I could have never imagined an assistant could contribute. From closing six-figure checks, to identifying new LPs we should meet, to matching my tone perfectly in follow-up emails. He's elevated my capacity as a founder by giving me more time to focus on the highest leverage work. Athena isn't just about scheduling meetings, it's about unlocking leverage. Hundreds of founders, investors, and executives trust Athena to free their time and scale their impact. Athena is offering our listeners $2,000 off for their first year of service and priority onboarding. And you want that, trust me, there's a very long wait list. When you're ready to multiply your impact and free up time for the things only you can do, go to athenago.me/Erica-Wenger. That's athenago.me/ERICA-WENGER. Thanks so much for listening to the Trailblazers podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. You can also support our work by sharing it with a friend or leaving a quick review. It helps more contrarian builders find us. For more on Park Rangers Capital and our community of elephant founders, head to parkrangerscap.com or find me online at Erica_Wenger. Until next time, keep trailblazing.